So today in Cafe Mind, we are speaking to Guy. Now, Guy and I have been talking for a few months now because we work together within Transforming Autism Project. um, Now, Guy, oh my goodness, I just think you're awesome. Your TEDx talk blew me away. The work that you do for the project is amazing. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, it came from my experience as a father of an autistic child. Um, and when he was 1 year old, we had, the situation that many families have that he regressed. He lost a lot of his development was gone. He stopped communicating with us in any way. And he became really, really easily distressed. And he was having constant meltdowns all the time. And we were thinking, oh my God, what are we going to do? What's happening to my son, and what can we do to help him? And we found out it was autism when he was age 1, and we were really concerned about that. And we had no idea what to do. There was very little help available to us, and we ended up going to a center in Israel. It's the only treatment that we found that me and my wife both really felt that this could be helpful. And it was more intuition than anything else, because there was nothing. We knew very, very little about it except their underlying approach. And when we went there, we learned more about that. And it was effectively what we learned there, first of all, was not to see autism as a problem. Before that, we were thinking, oh no, he has autism and that's problematic. Um, what we learned there was it makes no sense to see autism as a problem. It's not at all. And we learned not even to particularly focus on it but really to focus on the child, his needs, and what was going on for him and what was his experience, and not to see it in a negative way that he had a problem and things were difficult, because children are so perceptive and they're so much more empathic than we can imagine. And if we think that they have a problem, they will grow up thinking that they've got a problem. If we grow up seeing the potential in them, if we grow up seeing what they're capable of and what their true essence is, they're going to grow up much more confident people and much more able to have a good opinion of themselves and to have confidence in themselves. And that's what we saw literally in the 3 weeks that we were there. It's a very, very intensive program that focuses on just one family at a time. He went from somebody who could do nothing for himself, who was totally overwhelmed and out of control most of the time, extremely distressed, and his anxiety levels must have been through the roof, within 3 weeks, to a child who was really happy, really calm, really able to absorb what happened to him. And the story I always think of is that when we were on the way there and we got on the plane, he was really screaming. He was having huge meltdowns on the plane. Every little thing set him off, and we were on the verge of being thrown off the plane. The only reason we managed to get the journey is because he fell asleep before takeoff, and so they decided to let us stay. But the contrast between that and the journey back, when he just walked really happily and confidently into the plane, holding both of our hands, with a big smile on his face, really excited at the adventure of going. And all of that was just because of a change in how he was able to see himself, the confidence he was able to have in himself and his own ability to manage the world. So it's that sort of change in mindset that I want the charity to bring about. As much as working with children, it's working with the parents, because it's the parents who are going to be with their children the whole time. And it's about giving them the opportunities that we were really, really fortunate to have, to find a different way of relating to our child, of seeing him and of understanding him. And that's essentially what the charity is about. We're going to do it through, we're already doing it through webinars, through articles, through interviews, through all sorts of things that you can find on the website. In the autumn, fundraising permitting and lockdown permitting, we're hoping to launch our first family services, where we send therapists out to the family home to work with the family together to achieve a lot of the things that we've been talking about. And we've got big plans for the future as well, one of which is to bring that Mifni Center, which is where we went in Israel, a version of that to the UK as well.
Amazing. And you know, whilst you were talking, I just, and this is why I'm working with you, because I can, you know, relate to that pain and discomfort of, you know, being a parent and just wanting to help your child. And when you were saying about how our children feed off of our emotion,
Yeah,
so when I was in a situation where I was really trying to help my son, and it's amazing how resourceful you can be as a parent and how many people you can speak to and how much you can Google and research everything. But ultimately, when I started handling my own anxiety, then I saw my son's anxiety reduce. So
yeah,
I was thinking about that journey of you going on the plane, and not only your son's anxiety about getting on that plane, but yours as well. You know,
yeah.
and you know, as parents, we never want our children to be causing, you know, noise or, you know, discomfort for other people. So I would imagine that you probably felt calmer getting on that plane on the way home as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a good point, Emma, because it's if we're feeling anxious for our children, if we're constantly feeling fear that our children are not going to manage something, that becomes their reality. That becomes a fact for them that they're not able to manage it. And they just live up to our expectations of them. They just absorb them like a sponge. So yeah, absolutely. The parents' well-being is key.
So on that note, because
Yeah.
you've made all of this sound really easy. You know, I just got on a plane and we just went and did a course and then everything was all right. And I know, I know from talking to you, it's not that easy. So you would have had to have done some work around, you know, managing your own well-being, and probably still do that today. So if you're happy to share, what are some of the things that you do as a dad, to manage your own well-being and mental health?
Yeah, and it's always been an issue for me because I don't know why. This whole journey with my son and journey with the charity has been really illuminating for me. And one of the things I learned a couple of years ago, which I didn't know for 46 years, is that I'm autistic myself.
Okay.
And so that sort of makes a lot of sense of things that happened to me in the past because I did have a lot of mental health issues. Um, as a child and as a young adult. And I found the world to be really confusing and overwhelming to the point where in my mid 20s, I was sure, I knew for a fact, and it wasn't just a conjecture, it was a fact that I wouldn't get to 40. I knew that I wouldn't get there. Um, a few things happened to me to change that. And by far the biggest, I think, was um, I discovered and began heartfulness meditation when I was 27, which for me, very, very slowly, I didn't really know what was happening, but it changed everything in that, um, as well as answering a very deep spiritual call that I had and that I didn't know that I had until I started it. It also, on a human level, gave me a sense of grounding and orientation that I really didn't have until that point. And that's the part that came very, very slowly. So that by the time I was in my early 30s, I was doing things that would have been unthinkable before. So I was married, which wasn't thinkable before. I had a child of my own, which wasn't thinkable before. I had a job which wasn't thinkable before, but that job played its own part in trying to get me back to the original trajectory of not surviving very long. But yeah, but health wise, things still persist, and I still look for whatever can help me. I keep heartfulness going. I've not missed very many days of doing it in the past 20 years. Um, but I'm always looking for something else that can improve the physical quality of my life as well. One thing that I found recently, which feels very, very promising, is the emotion code, which is a
Okay.
way of clearing out a whole load of old baggage that comes with the emotions that we haven't processed properly from our
Mm,
past. Um, I'm also very careful with my diet. Um, So I sort of followed the medical medium protocols to clean myself out, get rid of a lot of pathogens and toxins and things that were in the body. And now that that's all gone, I eat very cleanly, mostly fruits and vegetables.
Mm.
Um, and I try to look after myself by using my mind as my friend, almost in the way of seeing the best in other people, seeing the best in every situation, trying to have the best perspectives and expectations about the future, because what we think is what we become.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And oh my goodness, this since being on furlough, it would have been so easy to have taken it felt like a rejection to me so
Yeah,
personally, and to have seen myself as a failure. Why wasn't I chosen? And all of those thoughts. And now I've turned that into, well, yeah, absolutely. There was a reason for this to happen. I would never have met you. It's so many exciting and interesting things that I've always wanted to do, but never had the time. So furlough has given me that time to really experiment and explore, and it's been great. But it's yeah, like you say, it's just being kind to our minds, isn't it? Because what's in there, it changes your whole perception on your day,
yeah.
and your life as well.
And
So
that changes the reality of your life.
yeah, and then it filters into your family, your children. It affects all of it. So yeah, we understanding that influence that we have on our children, and I never truly understood that until sort of a couple of years ago, when I really needed to help my son. Um, so if people, and I'm sure they will, because it's an amazing project, but if people want more information about the Transforming Autism project, what should we do? Where should we signpost them?
There's one website. It's transformingautism.org, O-R-G. And everything's there. You'll find a sort of an introduction to what we're about, all of our webinars, all of the interviews that we have with autism specialists and other people, researchers and things, a whole bunch of articles. There's a tool, if you think your child is autistic, to sort of help you understand the probability of that, which we developed with Professor Simon Baron-Cohen at Cambridge University.
Amazing.
And there's loads of stuff to explore there.
Brilliant. Well, we'll make sure that we signpost to that and add that in the comments. And just finally, to say thank you so much for your time, because I know how busy you are working on this awesome project. So I really appreciate taking the time out to talk to us today.
Thank you, Emma. These are brilliant interviews that you're doing, by the way.
Thank you.